A very warm good afternoon and welcome everyone to the most dreaded post-lunch session. So my name is Satish and I'm from Adverb. And in this session, we will have a discussion and debate on ideas around fixed and flexible automation. So I would like to welcome on stage the panelists. I would first like to welcome Mr. Vinod Kumar, Head of Supply Chain, CII Limited. Mr. Ponraj Periswamy, Head of Supply Chain Management, Wall Clipper Corporation. Mr. Puneet Modi, Director, Global Supply Chain Analytics, Mondelez International. Mr. Shakti Chaube, Senior Vice President and Business Head of Intralogistics Automation, Craftsman Automation. And Mr. Janki Raman Annam, Founder, Hachidori Robotics Private Limited. Thank you all for joining the panel discussion. So, as we begin the session, I would just like to briefly introduce fixed and flexible automation to the audience, and then we will take perspectives from all our esteemed panelists. So, a brief introduction about Adverb. So, we are a global robotics company providing material handling and automation solutions. Basically, we provide fixed and flexible automation solutions to companies around the world. We started in June 2016, and today we have 2 manufacturing facilities based out of Noida and Greater Noida. Combined together, this is the largest manufacturing facility for mobile robots in the world. We have around 800 plus employees spread across our offices in Australia, Singapore, Dubai, Germany, Netherlands, and US. And we have software development centers in Noida, Pune, and an R&D center in Noida and Fremont in US. So these are some of our clients. So we've worked with the likes of ITC, Dabur, Unilever, UPS, Maersk, DHL, Reliance, Indian Oil, to name a few. We have more than 350 clients today as we speak, and we have automated more than 500 warehouses. These are some of the sectors in which we are present. So these are the sectors in which we have provided our automation solutions: consumer goods, which we call FMCG, e-commerce, specialty chemicals, pharma, semiconductors, battery, solar, fashion, 3PL. So this is what we essentially do. We provide automated storage and retrieval solutions. We also make our own cobots and mobile robots. We build our own shuttle systems, conveyors, and we also have our own software layer. So we provide our own warehouse management system, warehouse execution system, and warehouse control system. Now coming to fixed and flexible automation, some of the trends that are emerging lately in the industry, I would just like to briefly touch on that. So first is access to technology, right? So more choices is a great prize, and I was having this discussion with panelists some time back as well. Today, everyone has a lot of choices. So I remember when I bought my first phone, there were only broadly 2 options, Nokia or Samsung. And the configurations are also very limited. Cut back 15 years from then, today we have a host of options, right? We can have 64 GB memory, 128 GB memory, 256 GB memory. Now people are talking about terabytes, petabytes. So this technology has not only impacted us as a consumer, but this has also impacted the kind of options that are available for factories and warehouses for automation, right? And we will see how it has evolved the entire gamut of fixed and flexible automation. And it has also sort of brought in more affordability. So a lot of solutions that were very costly earlier, now with the help of software and with the help of technology advancement, those solutions have become more economical. Though, is it still very economical or is still there a far way to go? We have to see. Incremental improvements is a reality. So that's where the key lies. Once you have implemented the automation solution, it is very important to identify the improvement areas, identify the challenges in integration, and solve it. Then only automation solutions can become successful. It's not a build-to-suit requirement or an office space kind of a thing where you've built something once and it will continue to work. So you will have to do incremental improvements even after implementing automation. Warehouses now have become profit centers and are not only cost centers, right? Now, so today only I was reading an article where a user said that the user was a loyal customer of Swiggy in 10-minute delivery, and it took only 10 minutes to switch to Flipkart Minutes because the assortment that the user wanted was not there in Swiggy. So you can imagine the amount of marketing cost, the amount of customer acquisition cost, and the amount of nurturing that Swiggy would have done, and it only took 10 minutes for the user to move to Flipkart Minutes. That's a reality of consumer changing patterns. If you don't have the SKU, you will essentially lose business. So if you see from that perspective, warehouses essentially have now become a profit center and a differentiator. And we will also talk about a concept of RaaS. Warehouses are not only about capex investment, but there are new models have evolved because of technology which help you to adopt automation easily. So before we dive into the discussion, if we have to define fixed and flexible automation, so fixed automation system would basically be the automation that is essentially bolted to the floor, has infrastructure, and is designed for a fixed operation or a fixed sequence of operation or material flow. So if it would be designed for either packing, it would be designed for handling a certain type of SKU, it would be designed for handling a certain type of volume. Now, what are the benefits? Benefits of a fixed automation system, it gives you efficiency. Once the system has, if there are not a lot of moving parts in the system will be very efficient, the system will be very reliable, and the system will be very fast, right? But then again, it's a capex heavy investment if you go for fixed automation. Some of the examples of fixed automation are automated storage and retrieval systems, crane-based ASRS, pallet-based ASRS, carton shuttles, conveyors, and rail-guided vehicles. So we can see some of the examples of fixed automation system. So this is a crane-based ASRS, a double deep or a single deep ASRS kind of a system. So you can see there's a lot of infrastructure required to make these systems operational. And this infrastructure would not only be in the form of hardware that you see, but it would also be in the form of server space, storage requirements, IT requirements. There would be a lot of Wi-Fi requirements that would be required. So it's both from a perspective of hardware and software. So this is a multi-deep automated storage and retrieval system. And conveyors are the back of fixed automation system. So conveyor essentially defines a fixed automation system to that extent. So this is how fixed automation systems work across different industries. Now coming to flexible automation systems. So something changed almost 2 decades back or 1.5 decades back when autonomous driving came into the picture. And from then, that point onwards, mobile robots, sorting robots, multi-carton picking robots, and collaborative robots, they brought in flexible automation into the picture. So what do you do when you're, so in India, there are companies which have lived the journey of doing a revenue of, so I have worked for a company, Asian Paints, which used to do a business of 1,000 crore in 2003. And by 2013, they were doing a business of 10,000 crore. Now, how do you implement automation systems for companies that are growing so fast? Today, we are seeing companies like Lenskart, etc., which are growing exponentially. What do you do when you're scaling up? That's where flexible automation comes into the picture, where you do not need a fixed infrastructure, and the robots or cobots that you have put will be able to change as per the configuration, as per the layout that is changing, or as per the use case that is changing. So the advantages of flexible automation are that it is movable. There is no single point of failure. So if one robot is down, you'll still be able to move the system, which is not the case in a fixed automation system. If your highway conveyor breaks down, then it breaks down. Your system goes for a toss, right? And then it's CapEx light, and that's where we'll touch upon RaaS as well. These are some of the examples of a flexible automation system. So you can see this is a robot that is doing sorting based on optical markers that are there on the ground. You can increase or decrease the robot strength based on your scale and your requirement. Why e-commerce specifically pioneered this flexible automation system was because you have to design for peak performance, but your peak performance will come only once, twice, or thrice in a year, right? So there will only be a one Black Friday sale for Amazon. There will be one big billion day sale for, let's say, Flipkart. So that's where flexible automation comes into the picture, that you can increase or decrease the fleet of robots based on your requirement very easily. And before I conclude the presentation and jump on to the panel discussion, one of the things that has really changed the entire game is software. So today, even with software, you can sort of make your fixed automation configurable to a very large extent, and you can even speed up your flexible automation, right? So you can optimize the route that your robots are taking. You can optimize the fleet capability of your solution. Now, what are some of the software capabilities that have recently changed the game in last 2-3 years? First is hardware agnostic integration. Gone are the days when there would not be a middleware or a software player who would say that, okay, I will not integrate this automation system with another automation system. Today, there are enough players in the system who do make software which is hardware agnostic, right? There are a lot of technologies which make these integrations very simple. Things like multi-tenancy, right? Reduces your license cost, reduces your software cost to a very large extent. You don't need to maintain a costly server and then cater to all the secure requirements at your end. There could be a single instance on cloud, and that single instance, even in WM, we have deployed warehouse control systems and warehouse execution systems on cloud, where a single instance of that cloud serves multiple customers. And then each customer has their own database which is secured. So those are the things that have reduced costs of software to a very large extent. Then microservices architecture has really changed the game, where you can now have simple components that can be added or subtracted on the go, right? There would be CI/CD pipelines that can be built, and updates can be pushed very easily. And if something goes wrong, which definitely goes wrong, I'm sure there would not be a single person who would have provided or used automation who would have not seen an upgrade not working to their capability. You can take the update back, right? That's the kind of capabilities now so you can experiment very fast, and you can go back to the earlier instance of the software because of microservices architecture. And last but not the least, generative AI is definitely going to change something fundamentally. I personally feel there is going to be a time 5 years down the line when companies will stop buying WMS, WCS, and WES from automation players. Now, why would that happen? So we are already seeing a lot of AI startups which are replacing the job of coders, right? So now, 2-3 years down the line, there will not be coders who will not disappoint us. It will be AI which will disappoint us, right? So probably there will be users who, through prompt engineering, will upload the layout, will upload the system specifics, and will just ask a generative AI platform to write a software which helps them manage their inventory with these automation systems. And you will have a software ready within 10 to 15 minutes. Deployment will be even easier. You will just ask the generative AI, give me step-by-step process to deploy it on cloud, and give me the name of 3 vendors who will give me cloud within 30 minutes. And if it doesn't work, you can try that again. So 5 years down the line, once generative AI becomes more mature, I think a lot of consumers will be able to build their own software today, which is a very big challenge. So there are organizations that charge a bomb if you go and tell them that, yeah, I want to customize my software. So customization will be well within your rights. You won't need the source code. So those smart algorithms powered by AI will be a game changer. So that's about it, about fixed and flexible automation. So now I would like to initiate the panel discussion. So Vinod, first I will start with you. So you have been in supply chain since almost 2 decades, more than 2 decades now, and you have seen automation up close and personal. How do you think a customer should approach fixed automation, specifically from a manufacturing point of view? How can it help the customer?
So thanks for having me here, Satish and team. Before I answer this question directly, I would just want to paint a picture of the current logistics landscape that is there in India. We are at a point of time where the horizontal warehousing space availability is not a concern. Unlike many other countries, for example, US, we have ample space available in horizontal warehousing space as of now. That's the first thing. Second, India is known for the human capital, right? We have ample human capital that is available. With this context, when we look at the various elements or nodes that are there in the distribution network, one is a manufacturing unit, which is the most upstream part of the network. And then we have distribution centers which come down the line. Most of the organizations keep on changing the distribution network. The downstream distribution network usually bases the changes in the business landscape and the product portfolios keep on changing over a period of time. With all these background, what happens is that for the downstream network, getting a return on the kind of investment that you're doing on automation becomes a problem. It was good to see the flexible automation system part, but even that flexible automation system, when you look at it from an investment point of view, it works out to be pretty costly. And coming from a user side, investments, while it could be strategic in nature, it could be tactical in nature, investments do need a return that is visible for the people who are putting in the money. That is where the problem comes. Now, coming to the upstream side of it, when we have a manufacturing unit, the space or the land parcel that is available is limited. And the longevity of a manufacturing unit is pretty high. So from that aspect, the automation in upstream manufacturing units, or probably from a e-com and from a quick commerce perspective, the distribution centers which actually work like factories over a longer period of time, the investments might see a return, would see a return is what I'll say. But the regular distribution network is where the justifying the return becomes a problem. You need to have that kind of return that comes in, the payback period that comes in to justify the investment. This, Satish, I would feel that is the biggest impediment, or probably one of the areas where the cost of this investment itself needs to be worked upon, so that it becomes much more lucrative for the user part to invest the monies.
For a moment, I was actually lost. I felt there was a VC or a P sitting here and saying that you have to make a return on the investment that has been made. No, that's very true from a customer point of view. Ultimately, there has to be a return that needs to be made on automation systems. And yes, we have seen many business cases where downstream warehouses have changed because of business conditions, may it be implementation of GST, COVID, e-commerce, now quick commerce, things change like that. So before investing, you need to be very sure of when I'm getting the ROI. And that becomes very challenging, especially when in a country like India, which has immense human potential. So basis that input, since you have asked a very pertinent question, and it's about cost. So I would like to now want Shakti, you to weigh in. How do you think fixed automation can make sense for a customer like Vinod, who's very upfront about cost, and how does it make sense for other players locally and globally across different industries?
Okay, thanks, Sati. I hope it's working. Yeah. Very good afternoon to all of you. See, if I have to answer you, because this is $1 million question, for me to answer this question, I will have to take you back a little into the history. Having spent more than 2 decades in automation, the initial challenges from the market was that why do you need even a manual storage? We can very well run the show with a ground storage. Eventually, manual storage, manual systems like racking, the fork trucks, reach trucks, they all become well accepted into the market. Then the question shifted towards whether manual or automation. And I am very delighted to sit here and see that the question is not that, should we automate or not? Right now, what we are discussing is that which automation is more suitable for this fixed, flexible, or fusion, and if automation is there, what is the kind of ROI? So, if I have to throw, because Vinod is more from a manufacturing-based organization, C8, which is into tire productions, and then the supply chain associated with that. See, there are the typical ROI for a greenfield project in these kind of projects is anything between 3 to 5 years in India. Outside globally, we will comment, I can comment it a bit later. It is obviously there is no option because of the manpower cost that is involved, the scarcity of manpower, the cost, a lot of things are involved there. But typically in India, it is 3 to 5 years. Now, if you look at what is the benefit that is given by automation? So first is that it becomes an easy answer. What you have to look at it is, does it serve the purpose? So typically in terms of functionality, does it serve the purpose? That is the first and the foremost question that you have. The second aspect to look into this thing is that, yes, as he rightly said, is the client willing to commit the money and what are the rationale for it? So typically when we look at the functionality, let us understand the Indian economy, let us take the industrialization part of the economy where we are into more manufacturing based. So currently India is known as, a country which is into the production of goods. So which involves raw material, finished goods, packaging material, all these things, if we really take this, that means there is a huge volume involved into this thing. You have to handle a large volume, be it in input, raw material coming in, or the finished goods going out. Second important aspect is that the pattern of consumer behavior has changed dramatically. So there is also a lot of variety, or the number of SKUs have gone up significantly. So that is another critical aspect. Third aspect, when we talk about India, it is more of a consumption-driven economically, domestically. So we have seen, there is a huge demand. And low-cost manufacturing unit also means typically that we are going to actually, export a lot because we are already talking about, China plus 1 or China plus N, whatever you look at it from that perspective. So all these three things are very well taken care of this, by the automation systems. When we typically look at in terms of the automation, you can handle large amount of volume in a very small cubic area. You can go very tall. I am seeing of late 25 to 35 meters warehouse being a very common norm in the country. In fact, we ourselves are doing around 120 to 150,000, pallet location projects under execution, which has a lead time of 9 to 12 months, and as an industry, it would be far, far higher scale in terms of the execution. So automation is actually an in thing from that perspective. When you look at how to handle SKUs, obviously you need the bare minimum thing is barcode, RFID, and then more additional functionality. So that makes life much easier. So you can deliver to the customer in a much better way. Third is throughput. See, when there is a demand or when there is an order that is being placed into the system, obviously you need to deliver for your business to run. So that is where the ROI comes because you get a money from your customer. So typically your customer has to be happy because if you are not serving the need, then there is some other organization sitting there to do that. So when we look at these aspects, automation has become a hygiene factor, which is there. And now the second more important point, because yes, as I said, one is the functionality element to it, and another is like committing the money or signing the check, which is more also from the Vinod perspective. See, whenever a plant is being set up into this thing, new plant, greenfield plant, you are setting up that facility or a distribution center, even if you look at it, you are setting it for a longer period of time, so 10 years, 20 years, 30 years kind of vision. So you have to take that, the volume is going to go manifold. How many number of people are you going to put? What is the consumer buying behavior pattern? We don't know. We are just now, Satish said that AI is chipping, it is going to disrupt. So many things are going to disrupt. So with that, you have to be over-prepared than under-prepared. So that is where automation is really coming in. And we have seen now, the next generation, even in the organization, the next younger generation is taking over the businesses. And they want to build, future-ready factories, future-ready distribution center to ease out the supply chain complexity. And that is where, that commitment is much more higher. In short, there has been a tectonic shift in the market dynamics. If you really look at from the ROI, it depends upon the scale of automation that you want to do. If it is a decent size scale, anything between 3 to 5 years is a good thing. But ROI is not only from that, it is also, there are also other aspects which we just discussed. More importantly, in terms of handling so many people, it becomes an IR thing. Or if you are having so many manual equipment, that becomes a traffic management in the warehouse itself. So, you know, all these questions, when you really look at it, I think automation is the way out.
No,
Thank you.
A very comprehensive take indeed. So some very interesting things from your inputs, Shakti. So I was just reading and discussing as well. In US, UPS signed a settlement sometime back, it was there in the news, that a warehouse operator will be paid almost $110,000 US for working in a warehouse. So as you said, globally, the triggers are something different. But again, picking from your point, so while I was working in my earlier company, I asked so we had an opportunity to meet the promoter of the company. And I asked the promoter of the organization, why are we building such huge factories? Why are we putting up automation? And he said that, and since you touched on that point, he said that if the market explodes, since I'm the market leader, there is a high chance that I will lose out on the incremental market return. So I want to be ready for it. So the trigger for them for automation was something different, but yeah, ROI is a very sticking point. And a lot of times we want to deflect this question creatively like this so that we cannot have a discussion on that. Coming to ROI, and since Vinod mentioned, we have already talked about fixed automation and terminal value of the factory where you have more longer timeline. But Vinod also mentioned that downstream a lot of things changes and their distribution model changes, distribution system changes. I was reading the annual report of a company called Pratap Snacks, which manufactures yellow diamond chips. And in order to cut down costs, they have eliminated stockists. So they said, now we'll do direct distribution. So how does a flexible automation system help in managing such complexities and such changes? Janki, since you have extensive experience of building AMRs, if you could tell our audience how flexible automation and how AMRs helped solve such challenges.
Yeah. Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. So just to add to what Shakti was saying, if you look at in India, 15 years, 20 years ago, a lot of this factory automation or meaning welding, it was all done manually. And at that time when we are talking about automation, people had a lot of questions. Why you need to automate that? Now come to this current factories where the welding robots, it is actually, you see it everywhere. Because now there is no question about why you need a welding automation. It has changed from some 10, 15 years ago to why that automation to now that automation is a hygiene factor and it is a must.
I'm sorry I'm interrupting, but now today, welders are also not available.
That is also true. That is also true. So things have moved, and I think what we are seeing also in warehouse and logistics automation, there are questions sometimes that we talk about ROIs, but 5 years fast forward, we will not have that question at all. And that's what I see. And now coming back to your flexible automation, so I also see that flexible automation, there are two different parts. One, we can talk about warehousing or storage, flexible automation, and there is also a part to a factory automation, which is flexible, right? So there are, for example, you have cotton transfer, right? Many of the installations are based on rail guided as of now, right? But now you also have AMR cotton transfer. What it brings is when the facility changes, one is the efficiency, another is when the facility changes, the layout changes, I have very minimal cost of shifting that fixed automation or flexible automation from one place to another place. So the cost that you have to incur, you have to count also the cost, what can come later when you are changing the facility. So that's where the automation, flexible automation or AMR, AGVs comes into picture. So that is the warehouse part of warehousing point of view. But if you look at the factory, right, earlier you had robotic arms, and robotic arms where each CNC machine, you will see that robotic arms are tending that particular CNC machine. Now you actually start seeing that AMR with the robotic arm. So AMR is actually moving and serving tens of CNC machines, and that way, one, you're utilizing that robotic arm to the maximum extent possible. So that is one aspect of where that flexible automation wins. There is another aspect where earlier we used to see assembly lines, either two-wheelers, cars, or other assembly lines. You will have a conveyor-based assembly. Now, what you see more and more is that assembly is happening on top of AMRs and AGVs. So when you are actually at the end of the shift, the entire shop floor is empty. So because all the AGVs are parked somewhere, right? So that is a green or clean area at the end of the shift. But that is also where when you are having a fixed conveyor line and you want to switch that to a different place, different building, that is enormous cost that people see. So that is another place where fixed automation actually wins. But overall, if you look at it, there are warehouses where there will be a fixed automation for high racking. But you have to take the goods from the fixed automation, where ASRS or high racking systems, to the dock, or from the dock to the ASRS. There, AGVs and AMRs, they actually play a big role in making that, in transferring these pallets or the goods from the dock to ASRS. So the flexible automation plays a major role. One is saving the future cost when you are changing the layout. Another is where there is no fixed paths or no fixed paths are needed, where it is taking the goods from the dock to the ASRS. Flexible automation plays a big role there. Yeah. So and another aspect, I probably will take a minute there. So there is also another aspect of a flexible automation, which is a different dimension altogether, is that some of these AMRs or AGVs that we make, so it is on a or for a particular purpose or automation. For example, a tugger or a tugging solution or a lifting solution. But if you are able to get a solution which is multi-purpose, then for the first year, that I can use that as a tugging solution. For the next year, I can use it as a lifting solution. For the third year, so that also makes that purchase much more easier. The people who are making the decision whether I'll be able to make use of it when my layout changes or when my plant changes. So people also look at that aspect. So first year I use it as a particular, I'm tending a CNC. The next year I use the same AMR for a tugging solution. So that the flexibility when we bring it in the solutions, the customers are easy, meaning they adapt it much easier.
Very well said. So essentially, flexibility helps you to bring down the total cost of ownership of the equipment, since you can modify it. A very, very good take. So we humans inherently have the habit of classifying everything, differentiating class system, caste system, etc., etc. So Puneet, now I would like to take your view. Which is better, fixed or flexible? Now I've classified automation also.
Thanks, Satish. All right, so let me put the answer in three steps. I think it is not only about flexible and fixed automation. So most of our processes that we do, they work as a combination of fixed, flexible, and manual work that we do, right? Now, material will travel across the factories, across the entire supply chain in different forms and in different ways. It is a combination of fixed and flexible that will ensure that you optimize your entire supply chain in a way that it delivers the best product, the best quality product at the most optimized cost. And the most optimal cost is the one that will help you to be competitive. In the market, as Satish called out, there is n number of competition in the market which is available, right? The product that you make, I'm sure there are n number of companies which make the same product at the same quality. What wins is the one that delivers the product to the consumer at the most efficient prices and at the best possible cost. So hence a combination of fixed, flexible, wherever you need. For example, within the factory, you would need AGVs to transport things from one place to other, right? In a warehouse, just to ensure that you keep the warehouse most standardized and to ensure that it works in the most optimum way, you would have dark warehouses, you would have warehouses which operate automatically. But I think one of the most important ways is how do you standardize, or automation works best when there is a standardization of the process, right? So you need to, if you standardize your product in a way, it doesn't mean that you need to make the same product again and again. Whatever is required for the automation to handle, it probably works the best. The second is designing your processes right from the first go so that automation can manage it is extremely important. Retrofitting is always possible, but if the entire process is designed in a way that it integrates automation, both flexible as well as fixed as a part of it, is when you deliver the best benefit out of it. And the third point is, see, automation, we look at automation as only a way to deliver ROI, that is save cost. I think automation, what it also does is it delivers a lot of data to you. So for example, automation, automations will help you ensure or help you keep a check on what is the per weight of each box that you would have transferred. Helps you ensure that you reduce your yield or you improve your yield to the best possible way. Every grammage that you give extra is an extra cost to the factory or extra cost to the company. So how do you ensure that with that data, how can you optimize your process? It also helps you collect data in terms of what time, what product was ordered, what are people ordering more, what are people ordering less. So the amount of data that it collects is, I don't think you need an ROI for it, but that is how businesses will thrive going forward.
That's very true. And a lot of business models that are emerging in India, where you today have an eyewear player who says that I will deliver the eyewear within 24 hours. Today you have players who are saying कि मैं तुमको PlayStation 10 मिनट में लाके दे दूंगा. There was a time when we would wait for a PlayStation to be launched, or some relative who would go to US or Middle East and will bring a video game or a PlayStation. But today people are saying, I'll give you a PlayStation in 10 minutes. So really, a lot of business models have changed and a lot of use cases for automation have evolved. Very true. But with this data, Shakti, so how can software make fixed automation adopt? So we always discuss that if India has to develop like China, elephant has to dance. So if fixed automation is elephant here, and if elephant has to dance, if fixed automation has to be made configurable, how can data help with software, if you can share with our audience?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question because, software is something which can make even a fixed equipment flexible. So that's the flexibility that you have with the software. Today, if you have to run the show, how you are going to do? Automation at the end of the day is a black box for you. You are not able to see anything. You are not going to able to get into any equipment and things like that. And whatever data is there. Now, typically, if we look at in terms of the data, how well that data is structured and what data is being shared with that software, that is where the key is. So typically, if you get a good data, because see, data at a starting point of any automation system may not remain the same throughout the life cycle of that automation system. Typically, rationale being that the business dynamics change. And today, so many things are changing at such a rapid pace. We are seeing, AI, typically chipping in generative AI, so many things are there, which will eventually mean that there is a lot of disruption. So consumer buying preferences will change. The young generation is very different, aspirational. When we even look at, take in terms of the products that are being sold. So typically, how we are seeing, again, correlating with the ROI initially also. Today, see, when we really look at it, there is a lot of, is the demand only for the low product that the company, low cost which they manufacture, low price? or everyone wants to have a premium. Look at, you know, the number of iPhones that are selling. Look at, if you look even in the vehicle, the car segment, everyone wants to go for a premier kind of thing. So this data is going to evolve, and their warehouse management software, how well you have an integrated software suite, that is the key factor in determining the success of any automated material handling system. So how well, you know, your WMS is aligned with WCS, WES, and how flexible it is to do iteration. So now, to give this example, you know, Satish, initially there used to be a lot of globally developed software, which was like more of a legacy. If you have to do a very repetitive task, defined task, it was very, very excellent software to run, you know, with a very high level of reliability. But now what is happening? Reliability is equally important, but at the same time, you want a flexibility. And that is where software plays this role. You can tweak small things into the software, and once you tweak these things into the software, you know, your system is like, again, it is completely refreshed, and you can do a lot more things with this existing software. So let's say your class A, class B, class C products, they are not going to remain same forever. So those things you can easily change. Your a lot of intelligence you can build into the system, which will also help you not only in the CAPEX, but OPEX. So your fast FMS, fast, medium, and slow, you can keep these things much closer for the dispatches, which will lead to saving in OPEX cost as well as faster reaching of the material to customer. So all this is typically depending upon the data analytics. So as much as data in a refined structure is available, and the flexibility of the software to take that data and really deliver what, you know, customer want actually, you know, the end customer. And that is where the real catch is. And I would say India is a fortunate country in this aspect. For a very typical reason, India is a software hub. We export software, be it in terms of exporting the software directly or exporting the people who develop software or lead the software companies globally. And that is where, you know, a lot of new age automation companies which are coming have this flexibility where the customers can, you know, derive a lot of benefits.
So talking about India being a software hub, so there's a different kind of problem that we are facing now. So with COVID, all this work from home came about and people could work from any location. So a lot of these companies in US felt that the time is right, that they don't need people on site. So they can open GCCs, Global Capability Centers, and then outsource their complete jobs. They don't need a software team. So it was happening for the first time that Indians in India were replacing job of Indians in US who had gone to write the software for those companies in US. So that was a very unique sort of a dichotomy that we faced. So that's very true. India is a software heavy country. And when we replace the jobs, we are replacing the jobs of Indians only. So talking about using software to solve the challenges once automation has been implemented, Vinod, I would like to come back to you. But before I ask my question, I would like to say, in calculating ROI, a lot of time we do not factor in the invisible costs. So when I say the invisible cost is that of safety. So let's say when you have an ASRS system, the chances of an injury or a fatality reduces multifold. So typically, I classify invisible cost as error, efficiency, reliability, and accuracy, which you will definitely get in an automated system. But again, that's to sell you an automated system. But once you have been sold and you've implemented, right, I'm sure even despite having a configurable software, you would be facing a lot of challenges, right, in implementing those systems. So if you could share with our audience, what are the kind of challenges you typically face and how do you solve them, or how should those challenges be solved while implementing automation systems?
Sure. So first of all, it was good to get different perspectives on ROI. And this era, it's actually good. These things also should be looked at. While I spoke about ROI, I was not against automation. So we, as an organization, we have also done...
No. So I'm sorry I'm interrupting you, but at the end of the day, the entire world has realized if you invest money, money should come out.
True,
right?
true.
We've seen a very big e-learning company which talked about giving a iPad to everyone.
Yep.
And unfortunately, what has happened, that's what happened when you invest money with no ROI in mind. So at the end of the day, it should have ROI. So no need to go defensive on that.
Sure, sure. No, so what I was saying is that, see, ROI is something which needs to be looked at. There are various ways and measures to look at it. We have invested in various automated systems wherein we could justify the ROI as well. But from a learning perspective, a couple of things, or probably 2-3 things that come top of the mind. First of all, what I feel is that many a times ASRS system, automated system that works, it can become a black box sort of thing for a regular user, right? You don't at times understand what is happening inside it. If you want to change the code, how can you do it? So that black box also needs a trained manpower to actually maintain that black box, right? That is the second challenge which we extensively used to face as to how to get people, obviously other than the service provider, who could be a part of the COE within the organization, who could understand the software, who could understand the system much better, and then ensure that the uptimes are pretty high. So that is one area which I feel is a challenge which needs to be sorted. Another area, again, just to take forward what Shakti was saying, can an automated warehousing management system talk to other parts of the organization, right? We actually look at warehousing many a times from a very archived point of view, as in it's a very, while it's evolved in India as of now, earlier it used to be a pure go-down management, not a warehouse management or a warehouse automation kind of thing. So just to take it further, can my warehouse automation system talk with the distribution and dispatch planning, right? Is there some intelligence that it can pass on to the distribution team, dispatch team, to reduce the TATs of the vehicle, to probably ensure that a faster replenishment happens to the consumer? That is one. Second, can it also provide triggers upstream? There could be some SKUs which could be produced faster basis some real-time inputs, right? We look at planning horizons of week, fortnight, month. Can we have a hourly planning horizon, right? Provided the upstream systems are compatible to it, can these triggers be used to produce what the customer wants? Probably these are the things which come to my mind when I look at it from a user point of view.
So that's a very interesting perspective. We have been limiting ourselves to within the four walls or within the box, which I would call a warehouse. But it is equally important that these systems should be integrated with planning systems as well. And I think now the entire world is, after COVID, everybody is aware about planning. And nobody can say that I don't know what a planner does. So talking about planning and the challenges that we face due to disruption. So Ponraj, you have extensive experience of running global supply chains. We are seeing a lot of disruptions. Somebody is dropping a bomb on someone. Some pirates sometimes decide to hijack a ship, right? Sometimes some neighboring country, people decide they want to overthrow the government. So how do you handle planning systems in such a dynamic environment? Because it is literally like a movie that is just not ending.
True. That's more relevant for the supply chain guys. Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. To be very precise, in supply chain, these couple of guys, ये दो लोग, I would put it very in a simplified way, एक customer और एक supplier जो हैरान करके रखता है, isn't it? The reason is, we all, the purpose of having your AI, your ML, your automation and everything, what you're looking for is to fulfill the requirement of your customer, who was looking earlier in terms of in days he was okay to get the material, then he turned towards hours, and now we are talking about giving in minutes. Yeah. Now in this entire factor you look at, the overall challenge is everybody, the one who is trying to deliver or the one who's already delivering somewhere in the OTIF of say 95 to 98%, he is still having the similar battle who is having around 80 to 85% kind of a number who is delivering. So everyone who's in the race of trying to meet the number of 100, which is never going to be possible enough because it's a chain of process. Now, in this era where we are in currently, not knowing what will happen and when will happen, the fuel price, the geopolitical scenarios, the shipping line havocs, whatever, anything can happen anytime, and you will not know. If we are aware, I believe on 28th, there was a announcement of All India port strike. In the last minute, it was called off. Imagine a supply chain guy getting an intimation about a port strike on 28th of the month, and you already have a commitment.
No, I'm sorry, I'm interrupting. As a person working in a supply chain company, we faced a trucker strike last year, and we would not want something like that to happen.
So the point here is, the dynamics, the unforeseen scenario, it's always there in the system. All I wanted to bring it, couple of points here as a highlight. One is the visibility. Though it's your customer who is willing, who's waiting to get your his consignment or his material, whatever that he's been looking from your end, he wanted that product on a particular committed time. It can be, in hours or on a day, whatever time you have committed to him. If you are not able to deliver him, all that he is looking for is the information. He wants that visibility, okay, not on a promised date, then when. You may use latest of the technologies. You may use all the fixed, flexible, all that manual, all that automation. But if you are not able to deliver to him when he needed, then everything goes for a toss. Number one. Number two, he is willing to wait that kind of a customer, or you are giving a chance to a customer to allow him to wait upon you with giving him the visibility. If you don't give him the visibility, the loyalty which you spoke in the beginning of the session, where customers switching from a particular app to another platform, in a customer loyalty is not going to be there, it's not there anymore. It's not about a kind of an emotion of loyalty, it's all about demand and supply. Who supplies me in first? He gets the order. That kind of a concept. Now, if you are able to give that visibility to your customer, although you are not on time, but this is the time you are planning to give it to him, the consignment, I believe the customers are willing to wait. All they are looking is the information. So I'm tagging the information with the AI and automation. So if you are able to give him that visibility on the order processing side of it, okay, when and how, that is more than good enough for a customer right now in a given scenario. Let me take a one side at the back end, supplier end. Quite interestingly, I came across this company based out of India and approached us for something related to AI and ML and all that information. While exploring their entire product, we got to know a system what they have is basically gathering of the information and sending you the highlights. If you have a supplier who's based out of, say, country like China, and he is going to be one of your core component out of your BOM, he is going to take care of your 80% of it. If he delays, the entire production line of yours is going to go for a toss. So there is information in and out available with him on a real-time basis if that supplier is going to get impacted or for any reason. Say for a geopolitical reason, for a local strike, for a forex change, or for any reason, if that particular supplier is going to get impacted, or even for that matter, floods. Okay, in China, when you see videos of a floods, you really wonder what kind of a floods they are. So even if that is going to impact them for any reason, there is an alarm to you and to the supplier, asking you to check with the supplier, is he impacted because of this? The moment he responds you against that red flag, yes, then there is the next question, how deep it is. What will be the rebouncing period or a time he is going to take to overcome that situation. All that what you wanted was to understand the buffer stock or the pipeline inventory what you have. Can that suffice till the time he bounces back? If he is not going to bounce back, what is your plan B? What is your plan C? You can switch your product. You can switch your source. What is that you want to do as a manufacturer? What is the product you want to drive in the market? Knowing that your A-class product is down because of this situation, which you don't want to reveal it in the market. You just want to silently keep that away and bring in the next line of A+, your B and B+ kind of a product and keep the market running, not giving up your share of market in that area. Now, if you look at what was that entire system was giving, is the information. Is the information, how critical is your supplier and what is happening with him, just based on the news. It is nowhere connected to the system or a process of a supplier. It was just a news. Any news in and around the supplier's, geographic area, anything, he comes up with you that kind of an input. I was shocked to see that, and I was happy to see that at least we have something, that sort of an input available, knowing a demand planner who always looks 90 days, 120 days, or probably even 6 months. In a given scenario, as a demand planner, we see what will happen after 6 months. So we need to decide on your festivity, on your demand, on your supply, all your unforeseen situation, what will happen after 6 months. So here again, what we need is visibility. What I can give it to my customer is visibility. So these tech in the system need to be incorporated. Somebody spoke here saying that WMS can be incorporated with the order management system. Yes. You can't take away that. AI and warehouse operation can't go away from the order management and the customer management. End of the day, everybody is running towards that. And if we miss that link, it's going to be a big kind of a question for us. Okay, in spite of having such a wonderful technology, why we are not able to meet the OTIFs to somewhere around 98 or 99? That's a take from my end.
Yeah,
Thank you.
So it all boils down to reliability at the end of the day. You want to build reliable supply chains. And talking about visibility, so 15 years back, 16 years back, when we used to travel, so my native place was in Uttar Pradesh, and we used to travel from Uttar Pradesh to Madhya Pradesh, where my father used to work, in a train called Sabarmati Express. It became infamous for other reasons, but it was very infamous for being late. So much so that once that train came after 24 hours, and people started garlanding the driver and all those people, only to realize that it has come 24 hours late. And we used to sit at platforms for 12 hours, 16 hours, 18 hours. Nobody would write on the board how much late the train would be. Today, still that train is late. I've not traveled since quite some time, but today, because of apps and because of system, it is written that it is 12 hours late. So that visibility now reduces my anguish, and I can plan if I want to change my train or not, or if I want to cancel it. So visibility is very important, and that's how it drives reliability. But Puneet, if I have to make my automation reliable, and why I'm asking you this question is because Mondelez has a state-of-the-art automation manufacturing facility, which is a manufacturing facility which is state-of-the-art, highly automated, and then you have manual facilities as well. So the peripherals become very important, right? When I have to implement an automation system, what are the critical peripherals or critical things that I need to be mindful of?
I think one of the most important ones is, as we picked out earlier, so most of the important things is how do you design an end-to-end system which is automated. So see, for a warehouse, what are the peripherals? Now warehouse is incoming material warehouse, it is an outgoing material warehouse, and it is the warehouse where you deliver to the customers, right? Now peripherals for these are entire supply chain, including what your customer needs, right? So when you design an automated system, it needs to be integrated with your supplier so that the material which is incoming comes in the right form and packaging that your automation can handle. Similarly, your entire supply chain needs to be, or your entire manufacturing needs to be put across in a way that there are standard boxes which are used, there are standard sizes which are used across the entire manufacturing. So the output keeps coming out in a way that the warehouse, the factory finished goods dispatch warehouse is able to manage it. Now, it is easier said than done because with the kind of changes that people need, with the kind of asks that keep changing from a demand perspective, it is not the easiest thing to do. Today people want something, tomorrow they'll want so today if they want SKU A, tomorrow they'll want an SKU B. Which is where I think the flexible automation comes in terms of how can you, now there is a limit to which you will put in flexibility within the system. But I think which is why it is extremely important that you put your system or you design your system in a way that it can manage from the lower limit to the max limit, and hence your system keeps running seamlessly. Now, see, along with it, an extremely important part is the data that gets collected along the way. It helps you ensure that you keep your systems running the most efficiently throughout the supply chain. Now, why is it important is today, in terms of cutthroat competition, cost is probably the most important thing. Now, the only way to reduce cost is either to improve efficiency or to reduce the amount of waste that you have in the system, right? An automated system can help you deliver the best cost and help you be the most competitive within the market. A simple example, an automated system. So when do peaks come? As you said, every company will have a few peaks. Now, peaks will come during either festive seasons or during holiday seasons when you have the most dearth of manpower or additional manpower that you could possibly put in. But it is always possible to put in or have in spare additional automations, flexible or fixed, which can cater to these needs. So those are the kind of data that you'll pick up, or those are kind of peripherals you'll build along your entire supply chain to ensure that it keeps working in the most efficient way at the most crucial time when manpower is going to be tough to find across.
Very true.
That's what matters the most.
Very true. Standardization is very important. The unit handling that you're doing in terms of cartons, crates, pallets, how you're going to do that, that's very important. Now, we've talked about how to make automation systems successful, how do we have to design, but there is a new phenomenon that is now sort of coming up in the market, which is RaaS, Robot-as-a-Service. So we talked about you would need manpower, but could you also have robot to cater to peaks and troughs? Janki, what do you think? How do you think RaaS can help adoption or probably fasten the adoption of automation systems?
So that's a good question. Yeah. I mean, before going into that, there was one thing that Vinod touched upon was the automation or the ASRS. It becomes a black box, and then I need skilled manpower to maintain that. And that's one of the places where the flexible automation to an extent helps, because it gives the full visibility to you, and also the flexible automation, there are certain pieces where we have, as Achidori, we give a guarantee of 99.5% or more than that uptime with least, meaning without any skilled manpower maintaining it. So that is the kind of direction in which the flexible automation is going. And the uptime is quite high, but you don't really need skilled manpower to keep maintaining it, or to keep track of it, or to retrain it. So a lot of times the flexible automation, you need to retrain it. Where the market is going and where we are pioneering is you don't need to retrain, and you still get 99% as the uptime for the flexible automation. Now coming to your question on RaaS, there are multiple reasons why the RaaS model that customers would choose. One is for having the flexibility of the peak demand. So if you have like Flipkart or other, meaning the e-commerce companies where the peak is in certain weeks or certain months, there you need a lot more people or a lot more deliveries to happen. There, having a RaaS model, it is beneficial for the customer as the e-commerce players, because then you will be able to deploy more bots, Robot-as-a-Service, and then they are able to get the benefit, meaning able to meet that demand. It is also the same for example, in agriculture areas where you have to supply the urea or those kind of, during only the monsoon season. And only those seasons, you need a lot more manpower or you need more automation. So if you're able to give it as a service, people are able to use it when it is really needed. And when it is not needed, then it is probably deployed elsewhere. So that is another part. That is one part where Robot-as-a-Service plays a big role. There is another one, a lot of customers, because it is a automation, flexible automation or a fixed automation, still things people are seeing with certain lenses, right? So you actually, when you give it as a robot as a service, they use it for a 6 months or a year or 2 years. They see that it is giving them benefit. And that is a risk that instead of putting it in a capex, they want to put it in an opex and see whether it gives me really the benefit that I want to see. See, that gives the flexibility for the customer and lesser risk, and also adoption becomes faster. So that is 2 reasons why robot as a service actually works better now.
So very well said. There's a company again based out of Bangalore, Nico Robotics, which is into agriculture. And since you mentioned the example of agriculture, which has a robot that sprays the chemical on cotton plants. And instead of hiring people, you can rent the robot, and it will you just put in the area, and with the vision system, it will automatically spray on the cotton plant. And at the end of the cycle, you could see the amount of chemical would be left. So typically when people spray, they would spray without any checks. They would spray as much quantity because they're not cared. You just hired them for a day. But this robot will spray optimum amount by evaluating the growth of each plant. So that's again the invisible problem, how RaaS is solving the invisible problem. And you can see the amount of chemical that's left. You see that's the cost saved for a farmer directly. So since you mentioned about agriculture as well, I just recollected this problem. But coming back to warehouse automation and industrial automation, and as Vinod said, having skilled manpower to operate such facilities, and you also touched upon that, Janki. So, Mr. Ponraj, I'd like to take your perspective. How do you develop such skills in manpower who can work along these automated systems, who can work along, because in this industry you have people from all age groups. So how do you develop such people, or where do you hire them from if that talent is available in the market?
I think this is one of the questions which every organization is looking out for. Somewhere we have an option of going to RaaS, where again it is not human dependent. But again, you need people to operate RaaS or to know how to utilize that equipment or a system. Now coming back here, I'm just taking a slight example of going back a position of a demand planner. Okay, if you look at the demand planner position, pre-COVID was not having that much of charm or attraction. He was a very silent guy. He was more of considered like a data consolidator who would consolidate all the data, who would make some a good graphs, throw some numbers, and remain silent. And he would do the changes as per the instruction of the seniors, though it can be a business leader, it can be a supply chain leader, or it can be your controller. So based on that input, he would do the sudden changes. And he had no control. He was just a planner who are responsible for getting the data on time and bring it to the visibility. Post-COVID or during COVID, everyone realized this guy is actually a champ who is having the information of history, what happened, when happened, how it has happened, and why it has happened. He had the entire history with him. And along with that, he is able to give, using of some AI, the predictive analysis, he is able to throw some numbers. This might happen again, or this may not happen. That was a fluke last year, or that was a very calculated risk or a strategy. We did it for a one time, and we are not intent to do again this time. So it may not happen. It may happen on another SKU. It may happen on another range of a product. So this guy actually during the COVID got a limelight. He came into a lot of demand. A demand planner was highly on demand during the COVID period. And that position showed how much is pivotal that entire organization. And during the course, along with them, the other co-colleagues of supply chain have actually learned the process of demand planning. Now, if you look at when we are talking about usage or the design or the layout in the warehouse industry, the core area is 3PL here. Most of the organizations have realized a decade or maybe 2 decades ago, a core product is manufacturing, a core product is service, let's focus on that. And to enhance that, if we need a partner, let him be the expert of that area. So that's how we brought in 3PL in our businesses. So here the dependency comes on a 3PL as a business partner, not as a service provider. As a business partner, walking along with the principal and aligning on their peaks, their demand, their season and low season and high season, realign, not only limited to the automations, software, technology, even with the people. And today, the warehousing related industries or a job it's also one of the attractive area. It is no more a job which people used to think about like going to a godown or a working, it is never a 9 to 6 or it is never a 9 to 10, 9 to 6 or 7 kind of a working. It is always you reach 10 o'clock, but you will end up moving late because वो 5 बजे ही order आएगा, right? And वही order important होगा, वो order तो आज जाना ही है. So that kind of a scenario you will get apart from your month end, normal days also. So warehouse work was never an attractive work. It was like somebody who is going to give long hours, tiring job and running around. But if you look at today's scenario, imagine we ran the warehouse operations. We did the picking, packing, dispatch, receiving, custom clearance, dispatches, customer receiving, sales return, everything sitting within a 4-wall in the COVID period, and we did everything. And our e-commerce business did multifolds. So we witnessed that. It is not necessary that we need to be personally present, physically running around. But that period, we realized one more thing is, we had people who are trained, qualified, knowledgeable. We never conducted any separate training for them. But that made a realization for the organization, especially for the 3PL players. Yes, you need to have a qualified people. You need to have a continuous training has to be a part of it. Training cannot be an optional to fill the calendars. It has become a mandatory. Considering even EHS, considering even safety, efficiency, and all the metrics which you have committed to your principal, saying that, okay, this is what we will deliver to you as a customer. So all that factor has actually parallelly gained the path of, training people along. And as I said, warehouse job is no more a dull or a lousy job. It has become a most dynamic thing. Everything is there in that. It's all how you look at it, and as an industry, as a principal, as a 3PL, how we move together, it will bring a success story.
Very, very well said. Ultimately, you will have to build talent, and that can only happen when you build learning organizations. And also the role of 3PL is very important because they sort of bring in the skilled manpower and you can remain limited to your core competency. So thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for sharing your perspective. Now I open the floor for any questions that would be there on fixed and flexible automation from a customer's perspective, from a supplier perspective, if there are any. Yeah, so there's a question there.
Hello. Hi. So my name is Mukul. I'm from Mondelez, India, and I work into data analytics within Mondelez. My question is, has flexible or fixed any kind of automation helped, deliver the promises of quick commerce? And if it has, then how? So basically, what has changed between e-commerce and quick commerce in terms of automation to enable them deliver in 10 minutes, let's say from warehousing perspective?
So your question is addressed to?
Anyone from panel who can address?
Sorry?
Anybody from panel who can answer the question. How automation has helped us deliver in 10 minutes?
So I would like to take that question. Automation has no role to play in quick commerce. Right? Okay, there's a lot of funding, there's a lot of success, there's a lot of growth in quick commerce for 10-minute delivery, but I'm not sure what is the viability of 10-minute delivery in 10 minutes. When the call comes, I'm not sure if Indian consumer will be ready to pay a premium, because again, we will ask about ROI, but definitely micro-fulfillment centers can help if it's a 30-minute delivery where you can have a completely lights out warehouse or dark warehouses, which are run with the help of both fixed and flexible automation, where you have shuttles and AMRs, which can actually pick your product in less than 10 minutes. You have a limited number of SKUs, and you will not have 10,000 SKUs. You will have a limited number of SKUs. There will be a higher churn, and you will have a layout which will help you fulfill your order within 10 to 15 minutes, and then there could be a 10 to 15 minutes for delivery. So now a model that could really evolve is these kind of warehouses could operate in parking lots. These kind of warehouses could operate. So पहले ऐसा होता था कि ऊपर घर बनते थे, नीचे दुकान बनती थी. So in such shops, you could have really small micro fulfillment centers, which could even be set up in a 5 meter, 6 meter kind of height, because nobody would need to go and pick the item will come out. Now that's my perspective. If anybody would like to take a stab at how quick commerce is being helped by automation.
If you look at most of the e-commerce or the 30-minute, 10-minute or delivery, overnight delivery, right? You see that over a period of time that there are people who are doing that picking job day in and day out. And if you look at their number of kilometers they are walking, it will be amazing, right? Because it is almost like 10, 15 kilometers in 8-hour shift.
More than 15 kilometers
More than
in
15 kilometers in 8-hour shift. So there, after certain time, the people will not be available to do the job, right? And that's where the automation, AMRs or fixed automation, play a big role in making that. See, for a year or two that you can continue that business, but as it scales, how do you scale that? How do you guarantee that for next 10 years, that delivery, 30 minutes, right? That's where the automation comes into picture.
Absolutely. See, automation can only play a role where there is a big order consolidation kind of thing happening. In a 10-minute kind of thing, you know, in that 10 minutes you have to deliver. It's like a last mile delivery. The only kind of automation or a software that you can have is helping you in identifying the inventory. Because you already know what you are offering to the customer in that 10 minutes. You know, that list, you don't offer all the items. It's like fast moving, quick moving, more in that particular zone. So it is only quickly helping you identify, pick it, and then rest of the time is in actually delivering physically.
I'll give you a very interesting perspective. Quick commerce is not built on the back of automation. Quick commerce is built on the back of cheap labor in India, to be very honest. There's a single question that probably everybody needs to ask themselves, or you should ask a quick commerce guy, what will happen if the government raises the minimum wage to 50,000 rupees? So quick commerce has definitely helped, but it will evolve in a very different way in next 2 to 3 years. And just like how internet did, the way internet companies exist today and the way how it was evolving in .com was very different. So this will also evolve, but in a very different way. It will not continue in the same way that it is today.
And surprisingly, Zepto is raising a lot of money.
Baiju raised a lot of money as well.
Yeah.
And Satish, probably, as you said, cheap labor is one of the things. If at some point of time, quick commerce, the last mile deliveries get aided by drones extensively.
Could be.
Those drones talking with these automation systems, it could be a very efficient kind of mechanism that does the delivery, right? A drone doing a milk run and talking with the upstream system, like sky is the limit as far as automation is concerned. But if something like that comes up,
that's very interesting.
It could be game changing for the people who adopt it.
That could be game changing for sure. There are delivery robot companies which are doing this outside India. There are companies like Autonomy, and then in fact Delivery has also registered a drone subsidiary to evaluate this option. I think there was a pizza delivery that was done in Mumbai by drone some time back, but then it was declared illegal.
Yeah. Correct. Because of the laws that are there. Yeah. And just to add on the OPEX part of it. See, we look at automation as costly. ROI comes into play because of the CAPEX part of it. The moment you look at it from OPEX lens, the things change, right? It is here and now. CAPEX is a little long drawn. OPEX is here and now. That is where all of this combined, I don't know, God willing, could be a futuristic game changer for India.
So the 10-minute will evolve, will definitely evolve, for sure. That's a very interesting take. Thank you. So,
Good question. So my name is Kumar Vidadala. I am from eShipJet.ai. We provide a next generation, generative AI-based logistics software solutions. The question I have is how the Indian companies are adapting RFID technologies into warehouse operations. Anyone can answer this question. Because nowadays RFID technologies are becoming, the tags are becoming increasingly inexpensive.
So probably the two customers here can answer it because they are the major users.
Thank you.
See, RFID, from one of the use cases for RFID could be stock taking or inventory count that we say, right? If you have a very inexpensive RFID, which let's say you put onto each product, which goes into an ASRS where you don't have a direct visibility through a camera or something. It then gives you a comparison of what your system count is versus what your physical count is. A very common example which is being used also as of now. That is something which I can immediately think of. Puneet.
So, I think in the food industry, RFID is mainly used for backtracking where the material has come from. So in case there are issues in the finished goods or something, it is really helpful. See, and the way RFID has developed, the cost of RFID has really come down. So in case the product is of any significant value, getting RFID right from the incoming material to putting it on the outgoing material is the one that should really help in tracking end-to-end source of the raw material as well as also the usage. Along with it, it also helps in a lot of automation. RFID is pretty quick in terms of stock taking, as Vinod called out. It is also quick in terms of delivery, dispatches, ensures the entire warehouse gets decluttered and is very quick and accurate in terms of managing the warehouse inventory, as well as it is pretty easy to see what stock is getting old, what stock is fresh, how do you manage the entire warehouse. Integrating it with WMS makes the entire process automated and pretty easy.
Okay, so in the interest of time, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for your time. It was an insightful discussion. Thank you, everyone.